Good morning. So I have a new challenge on my plate with this mahogany job that I'm doing. So on Monday I went and picked up some nice mahogany, and as you can tell, it's a really nice deep red color, right? It's really nice looking red mahogany. So this stuff must have been out in the sun and whatever. So I got most of my facings. I got most of my facings already made for this job. Here's a couple more. Right? Okay. So the mahogany that I got today is freshly cut, and it is not red. This is the new mahogany. Pretty white. If you can tell, I got quite the color difference here. So, it's not super sunny out today, and if I wanted to try to age it naturally, it's going to take probably a couple months. There's a few different techniques I can try to do this. I first am I tried the heat technique with the heat gun. Tried to pull that out with the heat gun, but as you can tell, it did darken it, but it's really blotchy. And these pieces are actually darker than the one I currently have that I need to make all the way dark. And here's the plywood that I got, totally different colors. So I need to figure out how to do this. Anyway, the next thing that I'm thinking I need to do is I went to the hardware store and I bought a couple buckets. I'm going to try to put baking soda and water 1-to-1 part. So I'll put baking soda up to about the quarter line and then water up to this line, and that should hopefully mix it together and then paint it on my wood and see if that works to darken it up. Okay, so in this bucket, I didn't fill it all the way up like I was going to tell you up to here. I don't need that much to do a test run. So I put 1 part baking soda to 2 parts water in here. I'm stirring it up with my little half shim, I guess. And I guess we'll paint it on. This is the color I'm going for. This is the color I have right now. So I guess we'll put our little foam brush in here and paint some on and see what happens. Looks like it's darkening it up already a little bit. I don't know if that's just the water or what. We'll go with that, let it dry, and see how dark it comes. And then we'll put another coat on if I think I need to get it a little bit darker. But so far, it looks like it's starting to work a little bit. I have another process in mind in case this isn't going to be what I think it's going to. So, there we go. Okay, the second process that I'm going to do is I took this white vinegar and I took this triple aught steel wool, and I'm going to have that steel wool dissolve a little bit in this white vinegar, causing a chemical reaction. Hopefully, then we'll see which one works better. Supposedly, you're supposed to leave this in here for a couple days, cover it, and then strain off the wool from the vinegar, and then paint it on like we did here. This isn't dry yet. I'm just waiting to see how much of a color difference it will be after it dries, but I'm going to use this piece for the steel wool one, and we'll see what happens with that. Okay, it's now after lunch. Everything is dry, and it looks like it did darken it up a bit. I dusted off that, kind of turned it more of a, well, this kind of is yellow on the back here, I guess, compared to that. Did darken it up quite a bit. I had a couple other pieces that were more along the lines of this color to start out with. I did the same thing and they kind of got more purple. I set them in the sun to hopefully bring out a little bit of the yellow in there. Here, I'll take one of these in and compare it next to what I needed to have. So it kind of made it more purpley. Laying against this, it's about the same darkness, but it's a little more purple, I think, than the other ones. But pretty interesting. Maybe I should try the other thing next. Well, after 2 applications of the baking soda and water that I used, it really darkened this mahogany up quite a bit. As you can tell, super light, way darker. Here's my piece that I wanted to match. It's a little bit different color. I don't know how I could get those yellows in there. Maybe by spraying some lacquer on it. I might have to test that and see if that'll kind of even things out. But pretty crazy how that works. Pulled that color right out of it. Makes it look a lot nicer. Okay, well, as we can see, I just put this facings together. The baking soda process works pretty good. As you can tell, though, it's a little bit more pink or purple than the naturally aged wood. So I tried on my test piece over here to see if putting lacquer on it will get it closer to the color of that. So I lacquered my regular board that was already dark and then my baking soda board, and it seemed to yellow it up just a little bit. I mean, that looks pretty darn close on this side. If I turn it over, it's a little bit more purple, I guess. Not too bad though. It's pretty close. Let's turn this one over. I put finish on both sides, so I think that's a pretty good way to do this. It also turned my solution a dark red color. I think it's from the dust that I had on there from sanding it beforehand. So I'm gonna do another test. This is my vinegar and steel wool solution. I'm gonna take that and rub it on this board and see what happens with that. Okay, let's see what this solution will do. This is my vinegar and steel wool solution. It's been sitting in here overnight. I'm just going to use my little spongy paintbrush to paint it on. See if this works better or if the other one works better. The other one did a pretty good job, I think. Let's see if this one does a good job or what. I think on the other one, baking soda solution, it just kind of did the surface. I'm wondering if it'll do just the surface on this too, so I'm not going to paint the end. I'm just going to paint the edges and the faces of this piece of wood with this solution. It's already darkening it up quite a bit, as you can see, and it's kind of a little bit more yellow looking than the other one that I had. This has more of a red color, but that darkened it up a whole bunch with the baking soda. we'll leave this on here, let it dry, and see how that does. See if it gets it closer to the color that I already have with my naturally aged wood. So right now we're just releasing the tannins in the wood, which is gonna cause it to get darker. I have my other pieces of wood sitting in the sun right now. Hopefully it'll kind of age it a little bit better, but we'll see if this works too. Stay tuned. Well, the vinegar and steel wool gave me quite a different reaction to this mahogany here. This is my first piece with the baking soda, and I like how that one turned out. But this just got like dark gray. Maybe it's from the steel wool in there. Quite a crazy different color reaction. I don't think I want my wood to look like this. I want it to look more like this. But I did chop the ends off to see if it went all the way through. It didn't. It's just the surface on both of them. So I have a feeling when I sand that facing that I just put together, it's going to get more like this color or maybe a little bit streaky. And I'll probably have to add a little bit more baking soda to it to color it back up again. But that's crazy. I'm going to let this dry over lunch and see if it's any different when I come back. But yep, good thing they're testing it out because I don't want my mahogany to look like that color. Geez, Pete's. Kind of crazy though if you're going for an antique look. So here's the results of all my tests that I did. The first one was just regular water. No change at all. Second one was just regular vinegar. After it dried, no change at all. Third one was I put lacquer on it. That was sanding sealer and lacquer, one coat of lacquer. This one is vinegar and baking soda, and that changed a little bit. I like the change on that, and that also has lacquer on it, and that color matches the original color that I was trying to get pretty close to it. So that's just this color with lacquer on it, so that's what that is. This is baking soda and water with lacquer on it then, and that matches pretty close to my original one with just regular lacquer on it. So that's probably my best bet, the first one I went with. And then this one is the vinegar and steel wool, which is a crazy thing that it did to that piece of wood. So that's what my test experiments brought, and I'm glad I did it because now I know what to look forward to when I am trying to darken this wood naturally. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye. Okay, for my final test, I guess, on this. Last night I took 4 pieces home with me that were this color, and I stuck them in the oven at 360 degrees for 1 hour on this piece, 1 hour at 360 degrees, and an hour and a half on this piece at 360 degrees. So on this side of the board, I didn't sand it at all. I just left it how it was, and the surface is really, really dark. As you can tell, I cut the end, and it's dark all the way through, just not as dark as it is on the surface. So I sanded one side down. This was also in the oven at 360 degrees for an hour and a half, and this was an hour. And I belt sanded these really good and got that whole basic top layer off of there. As you can see, just right here is a little bit left on that top layer. But this is kind of the under layer of that. And it darkened it up quite a bit. Here's again, I didn't sand these near as much as I did this one, but they still got a little bit lighter. So here, so I have finish on all of these. I put some sanding sealer on each one of these. This one, I didn't put any sanding sealer on the back, just on the part that I sanded. So it's pretty interesting. In an hour, it took it from this and got it to this. This has finish on both sides, so that's why this is super, super dark on top. And then this doesn't have finish on those sides, so it's not quite as dark, right? So I liked this color right off the bat. I think if I wanted to make it darker all the way through, that I would have to let it be in the oven a little bit longer. So it's kind of consistently dark all the way through like this. I think maybe 2 or 3 hours would do that, but pretty interesting. You can take this color and make it into this color, or this color, in just an hour and a half. So that's pretty close, I think. You know, I'd be okay using that for my facings and things like that. This one's not quite as dark because I sanded it a whole bunch. Let's just put all these up here against it. So you can see the different levels of sanding that I did. These two I sanded the most. These two I didn't sand as much, and this is my original one with the finish on it. All of these have one coat of finish on it, and they're at least in the same family, so pretty cool. Thanks for watching.